India's Mahindra is preparing a pickup that could turn one of the most expensive lifestyle segments into a much more uncomfortable place for Toyota, Ford, and even newer players like BYD. The number getting attention is about $20,700, or roughly 19.69 lakh rupees, for a vehicle called the Scorpio Lifestyler. That is the kind of money where many buyers would normally be looking at a well-equipped SUV, not a double-cab pickup with serious ground clearance, four-wheel drive ambitions, family space, and the kind of road presence usually associated with vehicles costing far more. And that is exactly why this vehicle matters. The Toyota Hilux in India sits in a very different price zone, roughly 30 to 38 lakh rupees. The Ford Ranger is a globally established pickup name, while the BYD Shark brings a more technology-heavy plug-in hybrid approach. Mahindra is not trying to beat all of them in exactly the same way. Its strategy appears simpler. Use a platform it already understands. Use engines it already produces, source heavily from India, keep development costs under control, and offer buyers enough capability and comfort that the price gap becomes impossible to ignore. The big questions are obvious. What exactly is underneath this pickup? How can Mahindra even think about selling something this substantial at close to 20 lakh rupees? And if the final production model lands anywhere near that figure, what does it do to a lifestyle pickup market where high prices have kept annual Indian sales at only around 4,000 to 4,500 units? To understand why Mahindra thinks it can make this work, you have to look at where the company came from, because this is not a startup suddenly deciding to build a rugged truck. Mahindra was founded in 1945 and originally operated in the steel business. Its vehicle story began later, when it started assembling Jeeps in India, and that shaped much of the company's identity. Mahindra became known for machines that could survive rough roads, rural use, hills, bad weather, and places where comfort mattered, but durability mattered even more. It then expanded into tractors and built another major business around machines designed for practical work. Among everyday Indian customers, vehicles such as the Bolero and Scorpio became especially important. The Bolero built a strong following in small towns and villages, while the Scorpio gave Mahindra a more aspirational identity and helped push the brand beyond purely utilitarian transport. Over time, models such as the Thar, Scorpio N, XUV 700, and Thar Rocks strengthened Mahindra's position in larger cities as well. The result is a company that now sells well over the old image of simple rural utility vehicles. In recent years, annual vehicle sales have crossed 1 million, supported heavily by demand for SUVs. Mahindra also has experience outside India, including markets such as South Africa, Australia, Nepal, and other countries where rugged vehicles already have a natural customer base. That international experience matters because the Lifestyler is not being imagined only as an Indian experiment. It is being shaped as a product that could eventually compete in markets where pickups are everyday vehicles, not niche toys. At the same time, Mahindra's image has been changing. The old formula was strength and affordability. The newer formula adds large digital screens, advanced driver assistance features, improved interiors, connected technology, modern safety equipment, and increasingly sophisticated electric vehicles such as the BE6 and XEV9e. That does not mean Mahindra has suddenly surpassed a company like Tesla in software, charging infrastructure, or every technology category. It means Mahindra is learning how to combine features that once belonged mostly to expensive vehicles with pricing aimed at a much broader customer base. The Scorpio Lifestyler is an attempt to apply that same logic to pickups. Mahindra already understands body-on-frame SUVs, it already understands four-wheel drive systems, and it already sells pickups in international markets. So instead of beginning with a blank sheet of paper, it can begin with experience, hardware, suppliers, factories, and customer knowledge that already exist. That is the foundation of the price story. The Lifestyler traces back to the global pickup concept Mahindra showed in 2023. At the time, it looked like one of those ambitious concepts that might or might not survive the journey to production. Around 3 years later, the idea has moved much closer to a real market vehicle under the Scorpio Lifestyler name. Its basic architecture is tied closely to the Scorpio N, giving it a known and rugged foundation rather than an entirely new platform. It uses a double cab layout, so it is designed for passengers in both rows, while the rear gets the open cargo bed expected from a pickup. That sounds ordinary until you look at how Mahindra is positioning it. This is not being sold conceptually as a bare work truck. The word lifestyle is important because the target buyer might carry tools on one day, family luggage on another, camping equipment on the weekend, and nothing at all during a normal city commute. The design reflects that mixed role. At the front are tall LED headlamps and L-shaped daytime running lights that create a recognizable face. A broad mesh-style grille uses small honeycomb sections to add visual width, while large Scorpio lettering across the bonnet ties the pickup directly to a name Indian buyers already know. From the side, pronounced wheel arches make the body look wider and more muscular. Black protective cladding around vulnerable areas is not only decorative, it also makes sense on a vehicle expected to encounter dirt, stones, dust, and minor scrapes. Roof rails add another practical layer because luggage, outdoor equipment, or even a roof-mounted setup could be carried above the cabin. Dual-tone alloy wheels push the design further toward the lifestyle side of the segment. At the rear, vertical LED tail lamps and large Mahindra and Lifestyler branding make sure the truck does not look like an anonymous utility vehicle. The important point is not that any one of these details is revolutionary. It is that Mahindra appears to understand the modern pickup buyer is often paying for two vehicles in one. They want the toughness and cargo space of a truck, but they do not want to feel as though they are driving commercial equipment every day. That is exactly the same space occupied by vehicles such as the Hilux and Ranger, except Mahindra's planned advantage is price. The engine story is still partly based on expectations because Mahindra has not officially released every final production specification. The most logical diesel candidate is the familiar 2.2-litre M-Hawk turbo diesel related to the Scorpio N. In the expected tune, output would be around 175 horsepower, with roughly 400 Newton-meters of torque. Torque is the more important number for the kind of work a pickup does. It is what helps when the bed is loaded, when the road points uphill, when the surface becomes loose, or when the vehicle has to pull something heavy. A diesel also makes sense for owners who cover long distances and value the efficiency and range that this type of engine can provide. The second possible engine is Mahindra's 2.0-litre Mistallion turbo petrol, producing around 203 horsepower in related applications. That engine would offer a different personality. The diesel is about low-end pulling ability and long-distance practicality, while the petrol should feel quicker and more responsive when the driver presses the accelerator. If Mahindra offers both, buyers could choose based on how they actually use the truck, rather than being forced into one powertrain. A 6-speed manual and 6-speed automatic are also expected. The manual would appeal to drivers who want direct control, especially in demanding terrain or work use, while the automatic would make the Lifestyler easier to live with in traffic and on long highway journeys. Four-wheel drive could become one of the most important features. On normal roads, a rear-wheel drive setup can handle everyday driving efficiently. When the surface changes to mud, sand, gravel, snow, or a rough trail, sending power to all four wheels gives the vehicle a better chance of maintaining traction. Mahindra is also expected to use selectable terrain modes, potentially including settings for normal roads, grass, gravel, snow, mud, and sand. These systems do not magically make a heavy pickup unstoppable. What they do is adjust power delivery and vehicle controls to better suit the surface. For a buyer who wants one machine for commuting during the week and rough road travel on the weekend, that flexibility is more valuable than a headline horsepower number. Then there is the question that could decide whether this pickup becomes merely interesting or genuinely disruptive. How does Mahindra get the price anywhere near 19.69 lakh rupees when similar lifestyle pickups can cost 30 to 35 lakh rupees or more? There is no single trick. The answer is a stack of savings created by reusing what Mahindra already has. Start with the platform. Building a completely new ladder frame architecture requires years of engineering, testing, tooling, crash validation, supplier development, and factory investment. Mahindra already has the Scorpio N platform and deep experience with it. Adapting and extending a proven structure for a pickup still requires major engineering work, but it is fundamentally different from inventing every component from zero. The same logic applies to engines. A new diesel or petrol engine can consume enormous development resources. If the Lifestyler uses the existing Hawk and M-Stallion families, Mahindra is starting with powertrains it already manufactures, understands, services and buys components for its scale. Design work is another area where Mahindra can control costs through its own internal capabilities. The vehicle has been developed through the company's own design resources, allowing engineers and designers to respond to Indian realities such as heat, dust, poor roads, packaging needs, and local customer preferences without outsourcing the entire process. Then comes the supply chain. Mahindra already buys huge volumes of steel, plastics, glass, lighting, seating, electronics, and other components from suppliers across India. Local sourcing can reduce shipping costs, import exposure, and some tax burdens compared with relying heavily on parts brought from abroad. Scale adds another advantage. When engines, electronic systems, structural parts, switches, seats, or supplier relationships are shared across several vehicles, Mahindra can spread costs over a much larger number of units. The principle is straightforward. If an expensive component already works, already has a supply base, and already has a production line, it makes little sense to redesign it purely to claim the new truck is completely unique. Mahindra can spend money where the pickup actually needs unique engineering and save money where proven hardware is good enough. Existing Indian factories, workers, logistics, and supplier networks help again. That is how the company can potentially combine a strong body, modern lighting, large displays, comfortable seats, safety technology, and serious mechanical hardware without pushing the retail price into Hilux territory. The rumored or expected 19.69 lakh starting point still should not be treated as final until Mahindra confirms official pricing. But if the launch figure comes close, the explanation will be less about cost-cutting in the crude sense and more about avoiding unnecessary reinvention. That is where the pressure on competitors begins. India's lifestyle pickup segment remains tiny at roughly 4,000 to 4,500 sales per year, and price is one obvious reason. A Toyota Hilux at around 30 to 38 lakh rupees sits beyond the reach of many families who may like the idea of a pickup but cannot justify paying premium SUV money for one. If the Scorpio Lifestyler arrives around 19 lakh rupees, the gap could approach 10 lakh rupees against some Hilux variants. That is not a small discount. It is enough money to change the entire purchase conversation. A customer comparing the two would no longer ask only which pickup is better. They would ask what the Toyota gives them for the additional 10 lakh rupees and whether those advantages matter enough for their actual use. Toyota still has enormous strengths. The Hilux name carries decades of global durability reputation, a deep service culture, strong resale expectations, and proven capability in difficult environments. Mahindra does not erase that with a lower sticker price, but it does force the value question into the open. The same logic applies to Ford's Ranger in markets where it is sold. The Ranger is one of the best-known modern pickups in the world, with strong engineering and an established customer base. Yet price and local availability can matter just as much as reputation, especially in cost-sensitive markets. BYD's Shark approaches the segment differently again. Its plug-in hybrid system gives it a technology story that a conventional diesel or petrol Mahindra may not match directly. But Mahindra has its own advantage in India: brand familiarity, a wide customer base, experience with local road conditions, and a service network that already supports large numbers of SUVs. The Lifestyler therefore does not need to beat the Hilux, Ranger and Shark at the same game. It needs to offer enough capability, enough comfort, and enough technology at a price that opens the door to buyers who were never seriously considering those vehicles in the first place. Imagine someone who wants a single vehicle for daily driving, family trips, luggage, occasional business use, and rough roads. A normal SUV can cover most of those jobs, but it cannot offer an open cargo bed. A traditional pickup offers the bed and toughness, but often asks for more money or compromises in everyday comfort. If Mahindra can sit in the middle, it could create buyers rather than simply steal them. That is why estimates that the Indian lifestyle pickup market could eventually grow toward 10,000 annual units are interesting, even though they remain speculative. The Lifestyler does not need to take thousands of Hilux customers to succeed. It can also bring new customers into the category. Mahindra appears to be planning for several types of them. One group is the urban family that spends most of its time in the city but wants extra flexibility for holidays, weekend drives, and long trips with a lot of luggage. Another is the adventure buyer, who deliberately seeks mountains, forests, trails, sand, and bad roads where ground clearance and four-wheel drive become useful rather than decorative. A third group includes existing SUV owners, who like vehicles such as the Scorpio, XUV, or Thar, but now want something different, particularly an open load area, without giving up the passenger space of a double cab. Mahindra has shown 3 different themes called Valley, Reef, and Trail to reflect those different lifestyles. Valley leans more toward everyday use and comfort. Reef is aimed more at travel and exploration. Trail is intended for buyers who expect difficult and rough road driving. The idea is to avoid pretending every pickup buyer wants exactly the same thing. The expected timing is around April 2027, although Mahindra still needs to officially confirm the final launch date, pricing, specifications, and exact sales plan. With roughly 8 or 9 months between the vehicle's public showing and that expected window, there is time for more testing information, production details, and booking plans to emerge. And India may only be the beginning. Mahindra is also looking toward pickup-heavy markets such as South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, other African countries, the Middle East, and Latin America. These are difficult markets for a newcomer because Toyota and Ford are not simply brands there. In many regions they are part of the working landscape. Farmers, contractors, businesses, tourism operators, families, and remote area drivers have relied on Hiluxes and Rangers for years. Trust is earned through reliability, parts availability, resale value, and service support over long periods. Mahindra cannot shortcut that process. But it does have a useful starting position because it already operates in markets such as South Africa and Australia. Existing dealers and service infrastructure mean the Lifestyler would not be introducing both a new product and a completely unknown company at the same time. The international pitch would likely be similar to the Indian one, offer a strong body, usable four-wheel drive, a comfortable cabin, modern equipment, and a lower price than some established competitors. That could be particularly attractive to small farmers, contractors, tourism businesses, and families who genuinely need pickup capability but do not want to pay for the most expensive badge available. Conditions in these markets also fit the vehicle's intended strengths. Australia and New Zealand use pickups for work, travel, and recreation. South Africa and other African regions demand durability on rough surfaces. Middle Eastern customers deal with heat and sand. Latin American buyers often mix commercial and family use. A flexible double-cab pickup makes sense in all of those environments, but only if Mahindra proves durability and supports the truck properly after the sale. There are signs the company wants the Lifestyler to be more than a basic low-cost challenger. Mahindra has said it has taken more than 250 patents related to the vehicle's technology and design. That does not automatically tell us how revolutionary every system is, but it does show the project involves more than simply cutting the roof off an existing idea and adding a cargo bed. Modern driver assistance technology is expected as well, potentially including Level 2 ADAS features that can assist with functions such as lane support and reacting to hazards ahead. A 540-degree camera system is also expected. The practical benefit is especially relevant on a large off-road capable vehicle because cameras can help the driver understand what is close to the body and, depending on how Mahindra implements the system, create a better view of obstacles around or beneath the vehicle. Connected car technology could link the pickup with a phone and make remote or digital functions easier to use. Features like these were once associated mainly with expensive premium vehicles. Their appearance in a lower-priced pickup would strengthen Mahindra's argument that affordability does not have to mean old-fashioned. The Scorpio name may be one of the most valuable features of all. Indian buyers already associate it with a tough SUV that has existed for years. That gives Mahindra something a completely new pickup brand would have to spend enormous money to create: familiarity. If customers see the Lifestyler not as an unknown experiment, but as the pickup version of a family they already understand, Mahindra's job becomes easier. None of this guarantees that Toyota or Ford will be humiliated, and that is important. A low announced price can look spectacular on paper and still lose its impact if the production model arrives with weaker specifications, limited availability, poor refinement, or higher real-world pricing. The final engine choices are not fully confirmed. The 19.69 lakh rupee figure is not yet an official launch price. The April 2027 timing still needs confirmation, and global success would require Mahindra to prove long-term reliability against some of the most trusted pickup names on Earth. Yet the strategy itself is difficult to ignore. Mahindra is taking a segment built around expensive, proven trucks and asking a dangerous question: how much of that price is truly necessary for the average buyer? By using an existing Scorpio N foundation, familiar turbocharged engines, Indian manufacturing, local suppliers, shared components, and a growing pool of in-house technology, it may be able to offer a double-cab pickup at a number that changes who can realistically shop in this category. If that happens, the biggest effect may not be that thousands of loyal Hilux and Ranger owners immediately abandon their trucks. The bigger effect could be that people who never considered a pickup before suddenly have one within reach. That is how a small segment can become a larger one, and that is where Mahindra could be most disruptive. Toyota has trust, Ford has global pickup expertise, BYD has electrified technology. Mahindra's weapon is the possibility of combining enough of everything at a price the others may find difficult to match. If the production Lifestyler delivers close to the promised formula, buyers will decide whether the established names are worth the premium or whether a roughly $20,700 Mahindra has changed the value equation. And that is the real test ahead. If you want to keep following the Lifestyler as its final price, engines, launch timing, and global plans become official, subscribe to the channel and stay connected, because this pickup could become far more important than its price tag first suggests.